Hey, what's up? This is Sean Gordon, director of The Oatmeal Man. So this is the technical commentary. This is kind of more for maybe like a filmmaker or someone who is interested in kind of how we made the film and what we went through, the choices we made, and the stuff we were faced with. So if you're interested in that, keep watching. So this whole scene right here is basically all green screen. So what we did was we had obviously no money for the film. So what we did was we put up a green blanket on the exterior of my friend's garage, and the sun was hitting it, so it was like a natural light. We didn't have lights, or lighting equipment or anything at all. So we used the sun to light it, and then we had a bounce to kind of bounce it back on the people's faces inside the car. And that's how we did the green screen shot. And you can see all the shots, aren't very wide. So, the blanket was only so large. So right there in the back, that's all green. And, I just brought it into After Effects afterwards and, keyed it out and added all of the little raindrops you see, the rain, the reflections, all of that good stuff, which was very time consuming and difficult because I had never done anything like that before in my life. So I was kind of learning After Effects while I was doing this. So it was a very kind of long and arduous experience. But I'm glad I did it because it was the start of, me and my career and, doing this. So it was very fun actually. So this right here is, again, we had zero budget for this, and I'll probably go into more detail a little bit later on that. But this is the Daigneault's garage. So what you're seeing is the same garage that we dressed up to look like, different parts of the factory. So you'll see at the end of the movie, you'll see that same pipe in the final showdown in the lair scene. You'll see, it's actually the same exact room, just dressed differently. And then to make it feel different even more, we had different color schemes for each room. So I just threw like a yellow gel on this one. So you can see it's kind of like a green yellow kind of color thing going on here. So this room feels like a green yellow type of room. Later on, you'll see a lot of blue, and then you'll see like a red yellow scheme. And, since we were filming all in, one garage for every room of the factory, well, almost every room, those are the kind of things we did to make it as different as possible, the look plus the color. And, this right here is probably my favorite part of the whole film. Because it looks the most legit, I guess. It came out really good. We basically went to Snooky's Cookies, the place where we filmed some shots. They were actually moving to a new location, and we just so happened to find them right at that time. So we got to use the old location, which had machines that were pulled out, so there was kind of like wires sticking out of the walls, and it was kind of already grunged up just because of the move that they had made. And there were a few old mixers laying around, so we kind of used them and basically just had Carrie make an oatmeal cookie, and we just filmed it. You see the cameras just pointing at all the things she's doing, of course in interesting ways. You'll notice that there's a lot of macro type shots here. We're basically zoomed all the way in to get that depth of field. And that was something we employed through the whole film, actually, because we didn't have a real camera or anything. So we filmed this back right before the DSLR video capabilities came out, so nowadays everyone's using Blackmagic and Canon and all that cool stuff. Red was obviously still in its infancy, but that was kind of the industry standard for people who have money, which we were not that kind of a company. So we went with the Panasonic HVX 200, which has some pretty good quality in my opinion, for what it was at the time. And the only thing is, to make that look good, you have to get a lens package to add on to that, so that way you can put your Canon lenses and your 35mm lenses onto it and get really nice, film looking shots. We didn't have money, so we didn't get a lens package. We shot this entire film on the HVX 200 with no lens package. So this was also when I didn't know anything about cameras. So I did all my research. That was the best option we could get for zero money. My friend happened to have a HVX 200, so that was the camera we shot with. And so I played with it for a few days, and I noticed how to get that depth of field, or the only way to get that depth of field with such a crappy stock lens, is to zoom all the way in and put the camera far away. And then, you can see, like right there, when it's on a close-up, you get depth of field in the background because the camera's far away, zoomed in. So we have shot as many things as we could with the camera far away and zoomed in, so we could get like the most film-looking, kind of quality that we could with the camera. That was kind of our trick. So you won't see very many master shots in this film because it just looks paper thin and kind of crappy. So that's what we did. And then the final thing is we added this grain you see here, which is a few layers of grain. It's kind of like a custom preset I built with a few different plugins. It wasn't like one plugin that does all of it. Like I had to use a few to kind of get it to do exactly what we wanted, which took a lot of doing, actually. And one kind of thing we noticed right away after the first cut was done was that the film looked really kind of like cheap, because of the camera and the no lenses. So we thought, maybe we can add grain. But another idea we came up with was we thought maybe we can make it look like a comic book, add a filter that makes it look like a cartoon, kind of like a Scanner Darkly type thing. And, we totally went that direction and did a whole cut that way, which took a lot of time. And when we actually kind of sat down and watched it, we were like, okay, we cannot roll like this. It looked so kind of crappy, and it, and in our heads it sounded good, and the tests we did looked, cool, we thought, but just watching it, we realized we were looking at a movie rather than watching a movie, and, getting invested in it, and, you know what I mean? Like, it kind of took you out of it because you're just looking at all the, how strange and odd it was in a bad way. Like, I know you can do it well. I don't think we did it well at all. Well, I guess I should say I don't think I did it well, because I'm the one that did it. So anyway, we scrapped that and we went to, our kind of original idea of making it look like a 1970s or early 80s film, because those are kind of the films we grew up with anyway, and we love those cheesy, funny and iconic horror films, that that were kind of the inspiration for us to do this, as we grew up finally. So right here, what we did was that was one spot we did have to spend money, was on renting a cab for an hour. So the guy came out, I think it was like $25 or something. And he just, stood on the sidewalk while we had our actor come in and pretend to be him. And, he was cool. He let him drive the cab for that one shot. But it was really simple, and we didn't have to do any crazy paperwork or, weird things. So, cab's pretty easy to film, we found out. You might also be thinking one of two things. One being, wow, this movie has amazing audio. It's so crystal clear. The voices are just so pronounced and just really well done. Or you might be thinking too, wow, the audio in this movie is really off. Well, either way, you're right. Because we didn't film with a sound guy, so we had to ADR the entire film. So that means that the only audio we had to work with in post was the audio that came directly from the camera. And everyone knows that that's the worst audio ever, totally unusable. So we went into the recording studio and recorded everybody doing their dialogue right on top of that. And we used the new, better, cleaner audio for the film. And right here you can kind of see, we didn't have any camera mounts or any kind of equipment like that. So we just had the camera in the car. Colton, our DP, would just be, in there with us filming, trying to get as far away as possible from the actor so that way, you can get a nice wide shot. So yeah, there's no like a hood mount, so you'll never see like a through the windshield type of shot. We never did any of that stuff. But it kind of works anyway. Like me and Krisondra in the back kind of have that little two shot going on right there, yeah. that you would get with a through the windshield shot. So it kind of, worked out. The porno closet. These are all pretty much true stories that happened to us in real life. Though the porno closet thing is basically, me, Sal, and Claude were in Santa Monica years ago when we first moved to LA, and we were all into porn, partying, alcohol, and stuff. And so we went to this porn store, like we were walking on Santa Monica Boulevard, and we didn't realize like what West LA was. So we start kind of browsing on our own, and one by one we started to realize that we were in a gay porn shop. And so Sal leaves immediately. He was the first to realize it. I thought I was just in the wrong section, then I kept looking around for the regular stuff, and I was like, wait, this isn't the wrong aisle. The whole store is the wrong aisle. So I got out of there quick. Of course, like good friends, we didn't tell Claude. We just waited for him to figure it out, and he came out. He's storming out like mother effers. It was pretty hilarious. Another cool thing about this film is that it taught me how to edit. I learned that it's more than just cutting together the scenes in the right order. You have to listen to the timing of what's happening, to the timing of the emotion and what's going on. And it's like you're dancing with something you can't see. You have to know how to feel it. That's the best way I can describe it. But it's a very, very fun process, even though a lot of people hate doing it. I see it as very musical and very artistic. Directing was very fun too, because you get to work with people's personalities, and you can't just direct everyone the same. You have to kind of get in their mind and figure out what kind of direction is going to help them get to where you need them to be. These scenes right here where the girls are in their underwear getting sliced up, we added way after the fact. We started shopping around the original cut, and the same feedback started coming in from pretty much everybody. And they all said, it was really cool, but it seemed like two different genres. It seemed like a buddy flick for 40 minutes, and then, all of a sudden everyone's in a factory and it's an awesome horror film. So we thought to ourselves, okay, how do we remedy this? It is called The Oatmeal Man. It is supposed to be about a stupid, ridiculous monster and, bloody deaths. So we definitely wanted to steer it towards horror rather than buddy flick, because it just has a buddy flick no matter what you do. So we wanted to satisfy everyone's horror kind of thirst. So we thought, okay, we'll add more factory stuff and show that the factory is a place you don't want to be. So that way, when this group of 6 friends get there, we know, oh no, okay, yeah, something's going to go down. And we also caught a lot of the stuff that didn't need to be in the first half, buddy flick wise, because the pacing we needed to get to the factory faster. So you can watch that in the deleted scenes. There's a whole night scene that's cut out that's really long. So funny stuff happened there, but just for pacing, we needed to chop it. And it does flow better as a horror film. Speaking of horror, this particular day was pretty crazy for me. I had to do one of those things that you hide from everyone, so that way you don't lose morale and you just keep things flowing. So basically, what happened was we show up on this beautiful, crisp, clean morning with a nice breeze blowing. Everyone's there, getting ready, happy, saying hi to each other. Al's there with his bike that he rode all the way from LA. Me and Colton open up the camera, and we find no data card. Yep, here we are in the middle of nowhere, with a cast and crew and a camera all ready to go with nothing to capture it on. So what do? I was just about to tell everybody the bad news and send them home and ruin the entire day and my reputation. But I opened my backpack and I found a mini DV cassette that had been in there for weeks. And if you know anything about the HVX 200, it shoots mini DV or P2 card. So we shot standard def for that day. And in case you're wondering how we thought of this whole Oatmeal Man concept, it's actually pretty funny. It started off as a joke. We're all sitting around in a room kind of, talking about funny movies and, stupid ideas, like probably everyone does, and we start just, naming like stupid movie titles, that we wish were out there, or, just making fun of it. And someone said Oatmeal Man, and we just started like cracking up, all of us. And for some reason it stuck with us, and we decided, you know what, let's make that film. So Jesse wrote it, and we filmed it, and now you're watching it. We always knew we wanted to make a film at some point in our life, and we actually had one all ready to go. It was scripted, and we had actors in mind and kind of, concepts. And it was actually too cool to do justice at that point in our careers and our experience levels. So we thought, it's probably not a good idea to make this, because it's probably going to come out like garbage. Nobody had any experience making a film. We've been on plenty of film sets, but have we ever made a film ourselves? No. So rather than do injustice to this cool concept, we decided to make Oatmeal Man first and make all our mistakes there. And we certainly did. It was really good that we did it this way, because Oatmeal Man is something that you don't take seriously. You expect it to be cheesy. You expect it to be crappy to some extent. Funny, sexy. And you're not looking for stars. You're looking for a monster that kills, and he's made of oatmeal. And we deliver on that. So we figure at worst, it'll be an entertaining, funny, cheesy horror flick. And we know there's a market for that, because we are that market. We grew up like that, and we love those films. Making the serious film would have been a complete waste of time, because after we were all done, finished learning and making our mistakes with it, we probably couldn't do anything with it or show anyone it or even dare to sell it, because it would have been horrible compared to other films that are like it in its genre, and people would probably be pretty mad. Another really good thing that helped us was that we knew a lot of people that were, in the film industry like us, young, building their reels, kind of working their way up. So we, pulled a lot of favors and traded a lot of different things to make this happen, rather than paying people, because we didn't have the money to pay. So that was my way of sort of bartering this movie to the end. It was like, hey, I'll do this for your movie if you do this for my movie. And, we're all climbing the ladder, so it totally makes sense to do that. We were very fortunate to get Tom Devlin aboard to do the monster effects. I was acting in one of his films called Halfway to Hell at the time, and production had just finished, and they needed a score. So, I went to him and I was like, hey man, yeah, dude, I just acted in your movie for free, and I'm totally willing to do a score for free if you make a monster in my movie. And he was like, absolutely, man, whatever you need, let me know. And he made it happen, which was very nice, because if you think about it, music doesn't really take any money. I already have the programs, I already have the plugins, and all I got to do is give it my time and, finish the job. But with Tom, it takes his time and materials. So he paid for all the materials to build the suits, and, I got to hand it to him. That was very, very, very cool. So just want to take a second to say thank you very, very much, Tom. These girls were great. It was another sticky situation. We planned it really poorly, so we were shooting in 2 days. We didn't have time to cast, and we needed these 3 girls. So I went online and looked for the hottest, most beautiful, sexy models I could find, and just hit them up straight away saying, hey, we're shooting this movie, do you want to be in it? And surprisingly enough, the hottest ones at the top of my list that looked like they would fit the part, that were, just absolutely gorgeous, are the ones that responded. And here they are, just one of those crazy things that worked out. When they showed up on set, I was like, okay, well, here we go. Can they act or take direction? And, I got lucky. They were really, really cool, and they prepared. and did the scenes. I directed them, helped everyone through it, guided everybody who, was a little shaky, and it worked out very smoothly. So I don't know how that happened, but man, was that a stroke of luck. We even got a really cool makeup artist that day that we never met, and she just fit right in. She was burping more than we were. Another thing that was very difficult was the camera. We could only borrow it for the weekend because my friend used it, during the weekdays. So I would have to go out, at like 4 a.m., pick it up, go 2 hours out to the desert, film for 16 hours, drive all the way back to LA, drop it off, go home, and finally get to sleep. And it was pretty hard. And, the guy only had one card, for the camera, like a media card. So it only held 10 minutes of footage. So we could only shoot 10 minutes of footage at a time. And then we would have to dump the card, which took half an hour. So it was, it was pretty crazy, to say the least. And we got through it. It was just the one camera. We couldn't set up a scene with multiple cameras and then just cut to the different angles in post. It wasn't like that. We had to shoot each angle separately. And, the actors had to, kind of do the same thing every time from each angle. But, it worked out, and no one seemed to really, it didn't really annoy anybody, I don't think, because actors love to act, that's the best part. It's the waiting and sitting down that they hate. So, they got to get up and act, like 10 times more than they normally would on some other film. So in a way, we gave them value, right? At least that's what I tell myself. And Annie, she was one of the girls that we didn't know who we casted. And as you can see, like, for her wardrobe, we were just like, okay, Bundy girl. So you're a Bundy girl. Anything that a Bundy girl would wear, and Married with Children, that's what your wardrobe is. So she came wearing that and the blue dress you saw earlier. And it was perfect. We put a lot of our kind of stuff that we grew up with in this. We love, the whole Bundy girl stuff, obviously, and cheesy, funny horror. We have like video game references and music references in here as well. This movie's really for us, and anybody out there who maybe likes those same things or who's probably around our age. But hopefully, there's another generation or two that can enjoy it as well, just because it's so ridiculous. That was a CG bird right there. Just to make it interesting, I originally put a skull up there, and it just didn't make sense, and I kind of did a bad job at tracking it because it was like one of my first After Effects things, and I finally just put a bird instead. It's just a lot cooler. Another thing we had to kind of do and that I had to learn was like the color grading, so like I had to make colors kind of more complementary than they might be when you shoot it, and do it, these little tricks, make it more contrasty than usual. Because to me, in my opinion, I like contrast, and like the blacks right there are like totally black and crushed, and like everything just has this nice kind of, I don't know, has something to it that I like, and I think it's good for horror specifically, to kind of overdo things a little bit to add a certain mood, perhaps. Like if we were to just white balance this perfectly and it looks, the way we did when we shot it, like it might look too inviting and too beautiful or something, and that's just not what we wanted to create. So if you guys aren't sure what color grading is and you're making a film, definitely check that out and make sure you at least learn a little bit about, or hire a colorist. There's actually a person called a colorist who that's their only job, and they're really good at it. They know exactly how to do it, what to do, and they can work some magic, actually, more than just color, but that's their main kind of thing that they do. Plus, their job is to make sure it looks good on like any system, not just like one TV. and then you go to some other TV and it looks like too dark or something. They make sure it's nice and balanced so that way it shows up well everywhere, or most places. So this is the same property. That's actually the back of the rest stop. If you remember the rest stop, we shot the front of this little building as the rest stop. We shot the back of it as this scene, but it's all the same location. John Carius was really cool. Love working with him. He's just hilarious to be around. He's very funny and very good at what he does, that's for sure. We always think he looks like a giant right there. Like we just came upon a giant. Boom. And all those little black spots are all crap. It's like donkey crap everywhere. See the little black turds? There was so much donkey crap on that mountain. It was crazy. Look at all that donkey turds. Sal running through the donkey turds. Oh, and another thing was the music is something I did as well for this film. I kind of got into film composing like 1 or 2 years before we filmed this, so I knew for sure I wanted to do the music for it, just for my own sake. And then obviously, I'm not going to hire somebody to do something when I don't have the money, and I, have all the stuff to do it myself anyway. So yeah, all the music you hear is just something I made. If you're kind of wondering about scoring, basically what I did to make this all happen was it's all simple stuff if you listen. But what I did was I made the opening theme song for like the credits, and that's like this huge epic piece with like different, there's a melody, there's a counter melody, there's a bass line, there's all the different stuff, drums. And that's like the biggest kind of like compositional piece, that kind of makes sense as a theme. So what I did was I deconstructed the elements of that and used them throughout the film. So like on some of the scary parts, I would use the bass line and work that into, a section. And, sometimes I would take the main melody or the arpeggio and use that as the basis of its own little piece, so that's kind of how I did it. That way it all sounds like the same score. That's kind of like, I guess, my little trick or my approach to doing that. Because when you think of making a score, it's overwhelming, to say the least. You got to make so much music, and it's got to be all different, but this, it's got to make sense together and, be cohesive. So that's kind of my approach. Some of these shots you can see we did image stabilization in Premiere, which was a cool feature that came out kind of recently. So the latest cut, I got to add little touches like that. So if this would have came out before, a couple years ago, I wouldn't have had those extra stable shots, But well, I guess that's one of the good things that resulted from this movie taking so long to come out. I got to kind of, clean it up a little more than I would have been able to prior. Maura was one of those, another actor we didn't know. It was pretty much her and Nicole Kunz, who plays Annie, that we didn't know prior to making this. So we casted them, and immediately they kind of you got along with us and understood our humor. They weren't like creeped out or anything or like mega offended, so it worked out well. And that's like super important, I think. Like I've heard horror stories about people being on set with people who are divas or people who don't get along or whatever the reason is. I'm glad that this was nothing like that. Like everyone on our set was very, very happy to be there and got along with each other. And that is important. If you're an actor watching this, make sure you don't piss people off. I mean, for no good reason. I mean, if you have a good reason, you know, that's fine. But if, you know, you're just trying to build a career, it's not a good idea to make enemies. You know, it just doesn't help anybody. It really doesn't. You know, I actually have been on set with some actors and, well, actresses that were like that. And, you know, needless to say, you know, the directors never hired them back. That's the thing about this industry, and especially today, you know, since, so, you know, anybody can really make a movie now, is, you know, if you're starting out, you're not going to get paid. You know, that's just how it is. There's no demand for people who aren't known by the masses. So, you know, you got to do it because you love it. And then eventually you do it so much that people start to recognize you, and, you know, you can ask for money or more money, I should say. And if you're going to be late to your audition, definitely call in, even if it's only 10 minutes late. It may feel like you're just a number, but people are actually wanting to see you. And if you're late and you don't call, it is noticed, believe it or not. So in a second, you're going to see my least favorite scene of the movie when they're driving. Because we only had so much time to film, you know, certain scenes. And, you know, the argument that happens in a second was supposed to be kind of like when the sun goes down, you know, and that's why they're like, well, we just got to camp it out because the sun is going down, right? So that makes sense. Why didn't we just shoot at, you know, sundown, you know, when sun setting? The reason is, as I mentioned, we only had one camera. We have 6 actors arguing. So, you know, I need coverage on every actor, which means we need a take on every actor. And, you know, sunset, you only have, you know, so much time to do that. So just to make sure we didn't lose light and have to come back another day or, you know, screw it up for everyone's schedule, we just kind of shot this whole thing day for night, which means it was daytime, we shot it, and then later on in post to try to make it look like night. And obviously this looks like garbage. That's the one thing I hate. But hey, I learned, you know. Come so far since then. Still much more to learn, but I could definitely do a way better day to night nowadays. But yeah, look at this. I mean, we shot it blown out, you know, by accident. So there's nothing we can really do to rescue it in post, even now, you know, with my newer knowledge. Even though, like, we brought the highs down, you can see, like, there's no detail there because it was filmed blown out. Oh well. Tripod was in the background there, if you saw that. Tripod makes a couple of appearances in this film. Another cool thing we knew going into this was that, you know, even if we couldn't get Tom there every day for visual effects, or, you know, or even anybody at all for visual effects, we thought, dude, it's Oatmeal, like, and we could get that for so cheap, you know, and just add water and then instant, you know, stuff to throw around and be gross. You know, add some blood to that, and, you know, we're set. So we were very happy with, like, you know, the ease of special effects in this. So, like, right there on the hood, simple. Carrie just mixed up some oatmeal and water, threw it all over the hood. Done. We did find out that, you know, oatmeal is wonderful for the skin. Later on, when I get oatmeal cannoned to the face, afterwards, you know, I washed all the oatmeal off, and man, my face was so smooth. I was like a 2-year-old boy. It's crazy. So this right here, we just had one lamp kind of inside the car. It was like one of those little Chinese lamps, you know, the ball. It's just like a white sphere. And we kind of hung it up in the center, and then that was our interior light. And then we had an extension cord running out the window. And then we had one light outside kind of pointing in to add extra stuff. And that was all fake shot, like I made. That factory was just like a photo that I put together on my own. It looks kind of crappy, but whatever. directing the actors in this film was pretty easy because, I was really like best friends with pretty much everybody in the film. And, we all know how each other works, so the only two people were Nicole and Maura, but we made sure we auditioned and cast the best, actors we could find who looked like and could play the role, and they were that. So if there was anything that was kind of like not right or off, I would, direct them back to the right path. But mostly, everybody just, was doing what they do, and I was making sure it was getting done. So I had so many hats to wear in the process that, I had to work like that. I couldn't, take forever on one shot, and, I didn't have any luxuries at all. I just had to keep everything moving, and, hiring a cast who could kind of direct themselves in a way was a good move. This song, which we mentioned in the other commentary, I totally modeled after the cue in the first Ninja Turtles film when they're coming back to town. Love that cue. Just something so cool. I don't know why I chose it for this section, but it just came out that way. And this was, the last shot of a 17-hour day. That was a long day. Here we go. The machete slicing up the chicks. This is actually Claude performing the machete. He's holding it. They're doing all that. Basically, Claude and Sal and Colton were the only crew members. And obviously, Claude and Sal are acting in it, so they, they had to do a few, double duties here and there. But they were super cool, obviously, because we're best friends. And we had a lot of fun doing this. Even though it was work, it almost didn't even feel like work. It felt like getting tired from having too much fun. Like when you were a kid, and you go and you play like baseball or dodgeball, and you come home so tired, but it was worth it, because it was for fun. That's how it felt to make this. Especially on days like this, when there's like beautiful girls. Everyone loves that, right? It's funny because I get a lot of comments that say like, it looks like a porno, or, it's too sexy or something like that. And it's funny, we don't ever show any nudity. You don't see anyone's ass crack. You don't see nipples. You don't see the cash and prizes down below. And somehow it comes off kind of like a very sexual film in a way, in parts. But, I guess to each his own. But those are the kind of movies, that we modeled this after, the kind of sexy people get cut up by something, like in a Jason Voorhees movie, or, Friday the 13th. We love that kind of stuff. So absolutely, we were going to put that in our film. This is, you see Claude smoking a lot in this film. He actually doesn't smoke anymore, but that was kind of one of the running jokes growing up, was that he always had a cigarette in his hand. So we tried to do that in the movie as well. Like I said, this is us capturing our lives, basically. So you can see this is the garage again. We dressed it up differently, made it, kind of bluer tones. Before it was yellow and green in the intro of the film. So now it's blue. We have kind of pipes kind of going in different directions in the background. Oatmeal on the floor as usual. But I think just the color alone really, really, tricks the mind into thinking of something different, files it in a different folder. So that was something that I was proud of kind of coming up with. I'm not like an art director or anything, or I wasn't at the time. So, I kind of caught on naturally, I guess. So got lucky there. And that little grate right there was totally not there. I just added that in After Effects to kind of, add dynamics and push the shot farther away, since we didn't have any master shots in this, the factory setting. It's like, well, maybe I can kind of make it look like somebody's peeking through a pipe. That way, I can push them back and smaller in the frame and stuff. So, I tried little things here and there, little tricks to kind of make it, a little cooler than just a garage. I love that the two flashlights. It's kind of like a campfire, but without fire. It's just flashlights. I don't think I've ever seen that in a film, so I was kind of proud of that moment. I think I even added a flame sound effect. If you watch the actual film, there's like a flame sound effect to show that it is our campfire in a way. Anyway, it wouldn't make that sound at all in real life, but with movies, you kind of add little things to help it, accentuate things and moments. It's one of those things that your brain picks up on, I think, and feels right. But when you analyze it, it makes no sense. That's kind of the cool thing about movies. And basically the whole film, well, at least for all the nighttime stuff, I kind of employed a 2-point lighting system for everything. So there's like one key light in the front and then one kicker in the back. So basically what that means is, see there's one light hitting her on her face and, and mine as well. And then there's one in back of us. So that way you can kind of like, and it was always like on a diagonal. We never lit from the front because that's horrible. And, it eliminates all shadows. And, horror movies, you want shadows. So we always lit from either the side or the back. So that's kind of another little trick. See, we lit him from the side and the back. And that creates that cool dark shadows in the front, which is very comic booky. And, this whole film is supposed to be very comic booky because, you see they open up basically a graphic novel, and this movie is that graphic novel, which we took straight out of, Creepshow or whatever that was. I forget what did that back in the 80s. I think it's Creepshow. Boom, there goes and we added those pipes on the walls. We actually shot these like aerial shots at our friend's kind of like little factory. Like there was nothing we could really shoot in there because it was like they built shelves and stuff. It was just kind of like a wood shop factory. But I noticed there were some cool pipes in the ceiling, so I figured like, we can make this like a corridor, and put the camera up, so that way you see pipes in the foreground, and then them kind of walking around. So this way, this kind of glues the different rooms together. And it works. Let's see, like now we're at Snooki's filming this bathroom, and then we show the pipe shot to connect it to the garage, But in your mind, you think, you fill in the blanks, and it feels like a really large factory. Some crap we added in the background to, just make it look more textured and run down. Like all these little pipes you see in the background, that's all plastic stuff that we got at Home Depot for like $20 or $30. For some reason, it was on like clearance. Like there were all these weird things, the plastic pieces. Some of it we didn't even know what they were or like what they did, but they were on clearance and they were plastic and really cheap. And we just bought all of that stuff that we could, find, and then turned it into, little pipes that go through walls and, factory looking stuff. We painted it a little bit to look more like metal. It's very fun. I enjoyed, dressing these rooms up. Carrie helped me decorate all the different rooms, Oatmeal falling out of crevices, and it's really cool. There's like a little pipe thing we made right behind me. It's probably like for an air conditioner unit. Did you see the tripod? Oh, tripod. Sneaking your way into the film. One shot at a time. Gross. So, even though we had no money, we knew that going in, I decided to try to find a cool factory anyway, just to see what I could come up with, or what it would cost if we did want to shoot there, just to, gauge what the whole deal was. So I found this place in downtown Fullerton that just looked so run down. It was like a closed factory that was like boarded up, and so I went to the city hall because it was pretty much right next door to this place. So I just went there and, walked in and asked, and, they directed me to the right people. And, I was like, hey, what's the deal with this factory on blah, blah street? And, they told me that yeah, the city owns it, and you know, they're gonna do something with, you know, tear it down or whatever in a few months. But as of right now, it's yeah, it's just there. And you know, asked them if I could film there, and they said, oh yeah, sure, you can. I was, you know, so I said, how much? And she said, well, you know, we actually can't charge you or anything, so, you know, if you just want to use it, you know, you got to have your own security and, you know, safety, and, you know, just sign a release form or whatever, and $1 million of insurance. So I was ecstatic, but then also $1 million of insurance was just ridiculous to even consider thinking about. I didn't want to like look like some, you know, punk kid, so of course you know, I had my game face on and said, oh cool, $1 million insurance, no problem. Cool, let me get back to you, and I'll call you like tomorrow or something. So I figured out $1 million of insurance wasn't that much. I think it was going to be like a couple $100. So I figured, okay, you know, that is definitely worth being able to shoot in this place. A couple $100 for this massive factory that's actually legit, you know, and crappy. I was stoked. I was like, well, I'll pay for that, you know. I'll spend the extra couple $100 and we'll make this really, really cool. The catch was they could only let me use it on the weekdays because that's when they work. You know, the city works during the week. So does Claude. So obviously we can only get Claude on the weekend, and he's, you know, one of the main guys in the movie. A lot of these other people also worked during the week and could only film on the weekend. So I begged them to let me, you know, take the keys on Friday and give it back to them on Monday, you know, type of thing. Trust me, and, you know, all that. They weren't having it, and we didn't get to film at the actual factory that was for free. Oh man. Anyway, we did the garage and Snookies, and, you know, worked with what we had, and it came out decent. I gotta say, it came out probably better than it should have. To be honest, that little sound effect when the flashlight goes by is another one of those things that would not happen in real life, but I don't know, man, it just works for me. I like that in movies. Style, I guess. And this room was another room in Snookies that we threw webs on the back there. Me and Carrie hate this room. We don't know why we did that. I mean, it was the only thing to break up that big white wall behind them. You know, that just the white wall wouldn't work, so that was the only thing we could do to make it look, you know, textury and darker. So that's what we went with. And for some reason, no one's mentioned it to me. No one says like, "Oh, hey, what's up with that stupid room?" Which I thought everyone would be asking me. But hey, you know, it's cool. And there's, of course, oatmeal like on the floor of like every room everywhere, which is kind of funny. We had a lot of oatmeal on set at all times. We even had oatmeal cookies every day at craft service. It's kind of like our good luck charm, you know. You can't make a movie called The Oatmeal Man without oatmeal cookies on set, you know. That's just blasphemous. So there's some more like lines from 80s and 90s songs. And the stabilized shot right there. Stabilized in Premiere or After Effects, I forget which one. But yeah, we didn't have a dolly. Or we didn't have an over-the-shoulder rig. We didn't have a crane. Nothing. Just Colton and his hand. And he was pretty darn steady. So this stuff, we shot like 4 years later. We figured we need even more sexy girls, even more blood and guts, you know, kind of, you know, just some more suspenseful moments. So we thought, okay, what can we possibly do? We already showed sexy girls getting cut up, you know, like, you know, 3 times. We can't do any more than that. It'll just be overkill. So we thought, well, you know, Tara can escape, and then she could maybe wander into Santi because he's kind of off on his own. We can kind of make him do whatever we want. So we thought, you know what, that would be cool because we could tie the 2 storylines together. This way it's not, two separate little kind of storylines, and, that's not that cool. This is a lot cooler because then there's questions that are raised in the audience's mind. Will she get out alive? Will she run into Santi? Will he save her? Will she go back with them? I think it's always good in any story, if the audience or the reader or whoever has a question in their mind, that means they're going to stay invested and keep watching because they want the answer to that question. So I think as soon as you don't have any question in the audience's mind, that's when they start to disconnect and start tuning out of the film or the book or whatever it is. So that's kind of one thing I read somewhere. I forget who wrote that, but it definitely made a lot of sense to me. So that's kind of what I employed in this whole process was, keep a question in the audience's mind. So this definitely shows that. So here's Sal. Is he gonna run into her? What's gonna happen? You're waiting to see. Rather than before, when it was just kind of him wandering around by himself, learning something about the factory, like the layout of the factory, which is necessary. It's a necessary thing that he needs to go explore. But this is even cooler, I think, than, something, linear. There's like a tangent that connects to it. So this is all, like I said, done a few years later. We went to a place called Oat Mountain. Just by happenstance, my friend showed me this kind of abandoned place. It's like abandoned, like some kind of military base or something. So there's like a exploded bus out front, apparently from SWAT team practicing and, bomb squad or whatever the heck that is, training. So it's a very cool place. So we went up there with Mindy and Anne and just one makeup and hair girl. And it was just us up there filming. It actually did look like we were filming a porno. It's funny. Just like half naked girls. And, it was really odd. And there's Sal dressed up as a hooded person. Because that's all we had on set, was just Sal was the crew. It was me on camera for this particular setup, and then Sal helping out with everything else. It was actually a very fun day. And we got to meet Mindy for the first time, who was a blast to work with. She's just a fireball of like hilarity and creativity. You'll see on some of the special features. We have a little spot with her kind of just rambling on this day. It was hilarious. I'm going to read it for you guys. So go over and find Hobo Salon and you'll see what I'm talking about. Another kind of cool thing we're hoping is, at the time we shot this, we were all kind of nobodies or very early in our careers. So now everyone's kind of going on to do more and more stuff. So now that the movie's finally coming out, Tom Devlin is pretty much famous. Mindy Robinson is definitely on her way up, and we're all doing different things. So it's hopefully making it a little more valuable now. Some more people might be able to see it or hear about it. Because that's the big thing with movies is you can make a film all you want, but if you want people to see it, you need a lot of money, or you need a lot of money and some recognizable faces. And that's one thing I learned on this, was not the hard way, because I knew I couldn't afford anybody, that's even in a union or any kind of like A or B list actor. I knew that. So, but what I found out was, nobody wants to really distribute your film unless it has massive appeal or whatever they call it. So if you're looking to make some kind of like huge film, you better research that. But if you want to make something for fun and for your friends, then absolutely do what you want to do, and don't worry about distribution. Do it yourself or find someone who is willing to do it. But don't expect some massive Hollywood hit if you don't have, recognizable people in your movie. That's just the reality of it. Of course, there are exceptions, but we're not talking about them. And here we go. The garage. Same exact garage. But look, now we have red and yellow. Seems like a completely different place. Then we put like these little air tanks and this little machine that Carrie built over there. And it looks like a completely different place, just simply by the lighting and a few items that, we put that table for her to lay down on. But it's the same garage. We use those little grates in the background. That's like some plastic grates we used for the floor that Sal was walking on a second ago. And, we reused it for like a lot of stuff. We just threw it up there because it looks, like some garbage you would see in an old factory. We reused everything we possibly could in this film. And then this thing behind her head, I don't even know what that is. It was one of those items we found at Home Depot. I think Lucas, our friend Lucas, the writer of Wasteland, he knows what that was. He was like, oh, that's the whatever. And we were like, okay, you know what that is. But he knows a lot of things about stuff. Yeah. Plastic chains that we got at the Halloween store. So we did spend a little bit of money on like little things in this film. It was only like a few $1,000s total. Something like, I think it's around $6,000 for everything. But, the rest of it is favors. So at some point, you can't keep asking your friends for favors because then you're that jerk that no one wants to answer the phone call when they see your name pop up, and I'm definitely not planning on being that guy. So, if you're going to pull favors, pull it on something very, very big and important and put everything you got into it. Don't spread it out amongst different projects because then that just doesn't work. We always thought this was funny that John Carius holds the machete weird. It's not only is it upside down, but like he's only gripping it with like 2 fingers. That's like so odd. We didn't notice that till like after we filmed it, obviously. And then later on when he's holding the gun, it's kind of the same thing. It's like an awkward grip. Hopefully I can point it out later when it comes, if I remember. These are all, little special effects here and there, which are super easy, super cheap. That's what's so cool about horror film is it's just very cheap. Jump cut, boom. That's funny. People always say jump cuts are like poor form. I say screw you. I love jump cuts. Like that made that so much better. Pushing it on his face suddenly. That was badass. Would have been like lame otherwise. Feels good to break the rules sometimes. Oh yeah. Look at that. You can even see like the tape on some of these pipes in the background. It's funny. We hate that room. And look, there's like a net coming down the door. Like, why would that happen? Like, why would any of that stuff be there? Look at that. What is that? Pipe in the background. That's believable, I guess. But and then I'm holding my flashlight like a baseball bat. Look at that. That's gonna do anything to anybody. That's funny. And like I said, we're all playing ourselves in this film, and me included. I'm kind of the dumb guy in the group. It's funny, like it's just my personality. But I'm really smart on the inside, clearly. So this here was Kaleo, also known as Joe Black. He was like a touring singer-songwriter. He was even in Forgetting Sarah Marshall. He was in the bar playing a song. And then he's one of those guys that kind of became famous after we filmed this. He's the Gojo guy that you may have seen on infomercials or in Walmart. he made this device that holds like the iPhone to your side of your head, called the Gojo, and that's him. That's his product. It's pretty cool, you know. So he's Dr. Oates, who is actually in the Oatmeal Man suit for most of the movie. And this is Ken Garcia. He died a few years after we filmed this, and it was a really huge shock to everybody. So we worked on a lot of different sets together as actors, and we had a really good friendship. So I dedicated the film to him. It was kind of my first time losing a friend, in my whole life actually. So as small a gesture as this film is, that's my one way to kind of give him a nod. So that's what he loved to do. He actually taught acting classes when he wasn't acting in TV and stuff. And he was a really good coach. He coached me for some time, and I remember it boosted my ability and confidence and everything just massively, just from like 4 sessions, and I was on fire. And it's funny, the more time that passed, the less on fire I was, till I would go back to his class. He was, I don't know, there's just something about, the way he taught that connected with me and worked. Maybe it's a confidence thing, I think for me personally, that might have been it. Boom. So this was at Snooki's, another room that we kept using different ways. Just throw some oatmeal on the floor. We figured this room will be empty, because we have so many pipe rooms and stuff like that. So we figured, maybe this one's, there's empty rooms in factories. So we made that an option here. And of course, you might have been way ahead of me. Look at the color. It's a little different than we've seen. It's more like an orange brown in here. And just the overall thing, and all the night shots, I just love crushing the blacks. Look at that black is really black, very contrasty, very much like a comic book drawing. I kind of got this, my whole film look sensibility from comic books growing up. I used to draw comic characters, and deconstruct a comic book drawing. They're usually lit a very dramatic way, the way they draw it, where the light sources are coming from and where the shadows are based on the light source. So I just, employed that into this real life situation. Like, okay, if this was a comic book person, where would the lights be lighting this person? So that's how I did this. Like, look, there's a lot of shadows, a lot of backlit stuff that now I realize, is the kind of film way. But I didn't know that when we made Oatmeal Man. I just kind of intuitively went there because of the comic book thing. So, I got lucky there, and I was happy for that. And yes, I will stroke my ego every chance I get. I'm just kidding. No, but it's this is a lot of work to make a movie. I got to give myself credit as much as I can, and everybody who helped with this. That explosion was done in After Effects. If you're, wondering how to make special effects and anything, there's a really good website called videocopilot.net, not .com, .net, videocopilot.net. And that's pretty much how I learned how to do everything. There's this guy who's just really good at After Effects, and he's funny to listen to, actually. I love watching his tutorials. So an exploding body was one of the tutorials, so I knew for sure, like, oh, that's going to go in the movie. I basically designed all the deaths around tutorials that were on his site, because I didn't know anything about After Effects. And you can clearly see, the video copilotness happening in a lot of the different stuff here. Even some of the compositing elements, you'll notice, are from Video Copilot. Alright, here we are. Almost at the end. But John's going to pull out his gun, and let's look for the way he's holding it. Any second now. Wait. 4. it. All that right there is real dirt. Like, he just straight up, he just put dirt on his face. There was no makeup artist for these days. But John is a trooper. And kind of like me. Like, I'd probably do the same thing. I don't mind getting dirty. I like results. Look how he's holding it. Look how he, oh, man. Yeah, he had like a whole fan of fingers. Like, what could possibly be holding the gun? It's funny. Well, at least that, you know, lets me know John's never killed anyone, hopefully. So that's kind of cool. Or has he? This was done right outside of the people's house on that property. We just turned the headlights on and had one lamp shining on them. And, you know, that was the best we were going to get. There was absolutely no background detail because, you know, there was no light. It was not on the middle of nowhere. And we had a, you know, pretty crappy camera. And then you can see the suit here kind of just falling apart. It's a cheesy horror film, so, you know, judge it as you will. I thought it would be kind of, you know, extra fun to animate his mouth when he talks, like when we see him. It looks super cheesy, but it looked worse when the mouth wasn't moving, so it was the best I could do at the time. And we found out that water is Oatmeal's worst enemy. Because the suits looked great, you know, the Oatmeal Man suits. And, you know, but they were dry looking. And I wanted them to look, you know, wet and gooey. So, you know, Tom Devlin threw, you know, some water on it to make it, you know, reflective. And they just started to, you know, decompose. And the oatmeal started to fall off the suits. So it actually, if you do run into an Oatmeal Man monster, water will kill him. We know this for a fact. And then in After Effects, I kind of added little movements to different parts of his body, as much as I could, to just add, you know, an extra little oomph to it. You know, did what I could. That's funny that Krisondra in this whole scene, when she's like crying and you know she was you know pretty young at this point, and she was very self-conscious about, you know, doing a scene like this. And, you know, I kind of had to push her in a way that, like, it's funny, like, she was really mad at me all day because I pushed her, and I was kind of mean, actually. But I knew that, you know, psychology-wise, you know, like, she's going to hate me maybe for a few days, but this whole movie's going to go on forever. And you know what? It's going to look better, and she's going to look better, you know, if I'm the bad guy for today. So I had to be the bad guy for this day, and I felt bad, but you know what? She did a great job in this scene. And I'm glad I did it. Hopefully she's glad too. If she's even listening. Probably isn't. Anyway. There's me getting shot in the face. I was so scared that whole day. I knew that it was the day that I was going to get shot with an oatmeal cannon. And when you think of that, you know, it's called an oatmeal cannon. Like, and it's going to be shooting my face. So I was very kind of like scared all day. And it's funny, you know, usually people on set, you know, as soon as they're done, you know, they go home. You know what I mean? Because that's just how it is. But this day, everyone stuck around because they knew I was going to shoot my... You know, the director was going to get shot in the face, basically, you know. So they wanted to be there for that. And it's funny, yeah, they watched me, and everyone, you know, we all laughed. And it was nothing. It was very, you know, it wasn't painful. It was pleasant. This BB gun we've had for, like, ever. There's a, you know, fake head that Tom Devlin made. Boom, the shoe. Which we had to cut in half. Boom, for that shot right there. But there was like a metal plate inside of it, so Tom had a hard time cutting that in half on the spot. You know, because we didn't know shoes had metal plates. We know nothing about girls' shoe wear. Boom. Clive in oatmeal form. This ending is really kind of funny to me because I always thought this was going to be the biggest feedback. Like, every screening we've done for this film, no one's ever questioned the ending. No one's ever questioned, wait, is that Clive? What happened? Why? Wait, how come everybody else swallowed oatmeal and they blew up and then he just, he didn't blow up? Like, there's so many things like I was waiting to hear from people, and no one ever mentions it. Everyone seems fine with this ending, so maybe I'm just overanalyzing it. But in case you're wondering, everybody else ingested the oatmeal man himself, kind of, worming around and then expanding and stuff. So that's why they blew up, because he's kind of changing form, going inside them and then changing form again to explode. Clive drank some of the high fiber formula, as you saw there. So that's the same high fiber formula that Mr. Oates himself drank that turned him into an oatmeal man years and years ago. So that totally makes sense, right? Anyway, maybe you got that. But if you didn't and you were wondering why the ending or what the ending means, that's what happened. And that's how Clive ended up like this. And yes, we had a romantic scene between a crying girl and an oatmeal blob. It's one of my favorite parts. People have mixed feelings about this part. Some people are like, I can't believe you went there. I just laugh. I love it. There's something very gratifying about just doing whatever the heck you want, That's why I really enjoyed this movie and I accept it for what it is. If I ever get some huge Hollywood career, that's great, and I'll probably have more people to answer to and more rules to abide by. So I'm totally doing whatever I want right now. So that way, whenever I have to do, in the future, at least I can say like, hey, I did have it 100% my way on one film, The Oatmeal Man. And for any haters out there, like, that are like, oh, big studios, are messing up art and stuff. You got to realize, man, they're not just big studios. They're people paying, millions of dollars for some artist to make something, they want to see that millions of dollars back and, hopefully some profit, so they're trying their best to make sure that happens. So, of course, they have no artistic bones in their body, and they make a lot of stupid mistakes and, do stupid, cheesy calls for the sake of making a safe film. But I sympathize with both sides. I just kind of... It's so easy to say, like, oh, studios are dumb. But I bet you if you threw $100 million on me making a film, you'd want to say in it. So think about that. And think about how many times I just said, oh, brother. So we shot this at Sal's house. It's funny. There's like so many different colored walls going on here. They seem to paint their house like every 6 months, which I enjoy because I go over there pretty frequently. And, sometimes I show up and there's like new walls and new furniture. I'm like, oh, cool. Very, very cool. At this time, the walls are green and yellow and purple and stuff. That's my mom right there. Mom! And in case you were wondering, it's 80 degrees in this room. Yep. I know some of you guys were wondering that, so just want to clear the air. My mom still has this urn. It's like a little keepsake, from the film. It's kind of cool. I like, stuff like that. I tried saving the Oatmeal Man mask, but I moved like 3 or 4 times since we filmed this, and like it just started to like mold, and it was just getting kind of cruddy, and I didn't have like a case for it or anything, so I just let it go. But the urn, we still have that. That's kind of cool, and small and portable. This particular scene here was shot on a little like Sony Handycam that had HD capabilities. So again, we didn't know what we were doing, so we shot this scene on 29 frames a second rather than 23 or 24 like you're supposed to. So we had problems with it, and I had to do some tricks to make it work. And I finally figured out how to trick it, and I had to do like interpolation and weird stuff in After Effects. Real pain in the butt, but had to do it because it was like skipping and jumping all over the place. That was the worst part of this, was learning about frame rates and all the technical kind of DVD authoring and formats, and like that part was just horrible. I hate it. That was a CG quirk that I added later. So this part, in case you are not understanding, that person that was cutting these girls up, you assume is Eddie, but it was the cop all along. He's just another guy in on this whole thing. He was the pervert, remember? He was trying to pick up on Lisa earlier, telling her he has a nice little spot down the road, and she'd make a great nudist. Well, he wasn't lying. This is his little spot up the road, and he's carving those chicks up and feeding them to Oats, so Oats can live on. So everybody wins, and I'm sure Eddie does his little stuff with some of the girls as well. But that's what that whole little scene's about, in case you were confused once again. Well, this is the film. These people here are people who contributed to our Indiegogo, so you're watching this because of these folks. They couldn't have done this without them. They made it possible for us to release this on DVD ourselves, because we did have a few deals on the table and release dates and everything all set up. If you followed us, you might remember us, kind of, oh, it's coming out and now it's not. Oh, it's coming out, now it's not. And that's the reason why, because we had some distributors interested, and the terms were either kind of not good enough. Not in a way that we think we deserve a lot, but it's almost like we weren't getting anything back in return, which just doesn't seem right in life. So I was like, you know what? No, dude, I'm not gonna work with somebody who doesn't feel bad about giving a filmmaker what they deserve, even if it's like small, but like that's just respect. So I don't want to work with anyone like that anyway. So I said no to a few deals. We finally did settle on one deal that was very fair and good, but unfortunately the release date passed, and we were like, what the heck, what happened? And the company, their management changed, or their ownership changed, and it kind of the contracts were not valid, and then they wanted to renege on some of the things they promised. And so we were like, okay, you know what, this is now went from like a really good fair deal to a crap deal, like one of the ones we passed up in the past. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna pass up on it now. So I got the film back and decided, you know what, no one's gonna care about this film as much as I do and my friends, so I'm just gonna release it myself, with all the special features that I want on there, because that's what I would want to see. Because some of these companies, I found out, just release the film by itself, no special features, and that's it. They don't care. Even if you give them the special features, they won't put it on the DVD. I don't know why that is, but it's happened to a friend of mine, director friend, and I'm not. If I'm gonna do it myself, that's a cool thing about being able to do it by yourself, is you get to do it your way, and you get to have all the things you want on there. So that's why I'm releasing this special edition first. I want all the people who heard about it and were involved to have everything the way I wanted it to be. And then if it gets picked up at some point in the future and bought off, and they'll do what they want with it, but at least the people who cared about it in the beginning you know, we have what we came for. So, yeah, congratulations on owning Special Edition. It's very special for me, that's for sure. I love watching special features on DVDs and Blu-rays. And that's the experience I wanted to provide for everybody. And that's why we shot all the vlogs, you know. Plus, it's a very fun group, you know. Just anybody experiencing Claude is a good thing. So you guys get to experience him. And here you can see everyone that was kind of involved in one way or another, or helped us with a location, or, you know, the camera package. You know, there we go. Andrew Kramer, video co-pilot, helped tons. So grateful for that guy. Gave me a career. You know, if it wasn't for him, I'd probably just be doing music, which is also cool. But I definitely enjoy visual stuff, so glad to be doing this. Well, there we go, folks. Thank you so much for sticking in and watching this all the way to the end. Definitely check out the bloopers and the vlogs if you want to just see the funny stuff and, you know, how it was to be on set with us. And you can see, you know, that it was a very low budget production with no equipment and stuff. So go check it out. And we plan to do a few more films, so be on the lookout, you know. We'll see you guys on the internet or on your TV. All right, Sean Gordon for the Oatmeal Man. See you guys later.